Everyone. Success is often seen as something big, something far away, something that only extraordinary people can achieve. But in reality, success is not built in one giant leap. It is built step by step through the small choices we make every single day. Today, I want to share with you the idea of small habit, big success, and highlight 6 key points that show how simple daily actions can shape our future. When we talk about success, most people imagine a dramatic breakthrough or a single life-changing moment. But the truth is, success is rarely the result of one big action. More often, it is the result of small, consistent habits that we repeat day after day. One of the most powerful truths we can understand is this: small habits create consistency, and consistency is the true foundation of long-term success. Think about it. When someone decides to get healthy, they don't transform overnight. They don't suddenly run a marathon or lose weight instantly. Instead, the real progress comes from showing up daily, whether it's choosing a healthier meal, walking for 20 minutes, or drinking more water. Each action may feel small, almost insignificant at the time, but repeated consistently, those actions begin to create real change. The magic is not in how big the effort is, it's in how often it is repeated. Consistency works because it builds momentum. The hardest part of creating a new habit is not doing it once, it is doing it every single day until it becomes automatic. Imagine you decide to read for 10 minutes before bed. On the first day, it feels simple. On the second day, you may even feel motivated. But on the 10th day, when you are tired or distracted, that's when consistency matters most. If you still pick up the book, even for a few minutes, you are reinforcing the habit. Over weeks and months, those 10 minutes add up to entire books finished, and the knowledge you gain slowly transforms your thinking. None of this would have happened if you only read once in a while. It happens because of consistency. The reason small habits are so effective in creating consistency is that they are manageable. They are not overwhelming. If you tell yourself you need to exercise for 2 hours every day, you may keep it up for a week, but eventually you will burn out. The effort is too big to sustain. But if you commit to just 10 or 15 minutes daily, it becomes realistic and you are far more likely to stick with it. Once you have established the habit, it becomes part of your routine, and from there you can expand it naturally. Small habits lower the barrier to entry, making it easier to stay consistent. Consistency also rewires the brain. Every time you repeat an action, you strengthen the neural pathways that make it easier to do it again. It's just like walking through a field. The more often you walk the same path, the clearer and more natural that path becomes. Over time, the action requires less effort because it has become second nature. What once felt like a conscious choice now feels automatic. This is the real power of consistency. Small habits practiced regularly transform into a natural part of who you are. Another benefit of consistency is trust. When you keep showing up for yourself, you begin to trust your own word. You no longer see yourself as someone who gives up easily or someone who sets goals but never follows through. Instead, you prove to yourself every day that you are disciplined, reliable, and capable of growth. This inner trust is powerful because it fuels confidence, and confidence is essential for achieving bigger dreams. And let us not forget, consistency is contagious. When people around you see that you are disciplined in your habits, whether it's waking up early, staying organized, or continue Owsley learning, they are inspired. Your small, consistent actions can motivate others to change their own habits. In this way, your small routines do not just create personal success, they also create. Every single one of us has dreams about the kind of person we want to become. Some people want to be healthier, some want to be wealthier, some want to be more confident, and others want to be kinder or more disciplined. But what truly shapes who we are is not what we dream about, not what we occasionally do, and not even what we say we want. Who we are is determined by the habits we live with every single day. Our habits shape our identity, and our identity, in turn, guides our future. When you look at successful people in any field, whether it's an athlete, a musician, a writer, or an entrepreneur, you notice something they all have in common. They don't just perform their skills, they live them. A runner doesn't become an athlete by running one marathon and stopping there. They become a runner because they run consistently, even on days they don't feel like it. The habit of running builds their identity as a runner. The same is true for someone who practices music daily. Even if they start by playing for only 15 minutes a day, over time, that repeated habit makes them see themselves as a musician. The habit becomes part of who they are, and eventually, it would feel strange not to do it. This connection between habit and identity is powerful because it means you don't have to wait to become the person you want to be. You can start shaping that identity right now with small daily actions. If you want to be a writer, you don't need to publish a best selling novel immediately. You simply need to write every day, even if it's just a few sentences. If you want to be healthy, you don't need to lose 20 pounds overnight. You just need to build the habit of making healthier choices day after day. With each action, you are casting a vote for the person you want to become. Every time you make the choice to act in line with your goals, you are reinforcing that identity. What's fascinating is that our habits not only shape how others see us, but they also change how we see ourselves. For example, someone who smokes may tell themselves, I'm a smoker, and that identity reinforces the habit. On the other hand, when a person who wants to quit smoking says, I'm not a smoker anymore, they begin to adopt a new identity, which makes it easier to support healthier habits. This is why identity-based habits are so effective. When your actions align with who you believe you are, the habit feels natural instead of forced. Habits also create a feedback loop. Let's say you decide to wake up early to exercise. At first, it might feel difficult, and your identity may not match your actions. You may think, I'm not really a morning person. But as you continue the habit, you start to prove to yourself that you are the kind of person who wakes up early, who values fitness, who cares about health. That identity makes it easier to keep going. And over time, the cycle strengthens. The habit shapes the identity, and the identity strengthens the habit. What we often forget is that identity is not fixed. You don't have to be stuck with the labels you've given yourself in the past. If you once thought, I'm disorganized, you can change that by practicing the habit of tidying up a little each day. If you once believed, I'm not good with money, you can change that by developing the habit of saving regularly, even in small amounts. Every new habit you choose has the power to rewrite your story. So when we think about success, it's not just about what we achieve, but about who we become along the way. And who we become is determined by the habits we cultivate. If you want to change your life, don't just focus on the goal, focus on the habits that prove to yourself who you are. Over time, those small daily actions will shape your identity into the person you've always wanted to be. One of the greatest truths about success is that it does not arrive suddenly or all at once. It is not the result of a single decision, a single event, or a single breakthrough. Success is the product of the small, repeated choices we make every single day. And when those choices are compounded over time, the results can be extraordinary. This principle is known as the compound effect, and it explains why small habits, practiced consistently, create results far greater than we can imagine at the beginning. Think about money as a simple example. If you invest a small amount every month, at first it doesn't look like much. In the first year, the growth seems slow, almost invisible. But over 10, 15, or 20 years, the power of compounding takes over, and what started as something small turns into a significant fortune. The same idea applies to habits in life. Reading just 10 minutes a day may not feel life-changing, but if you keep doing it over months and years, you will have consumed dozens of books, absorbed new knowledge, and transformed the way you think. The small effort, multiplied by time, becomes massive progress. The reason the compound effect is so powerful is because time magnifies both the good and the bad. Positive habits, no matter how small, grow into powerful forces that lift us higher. Negative habits, even the tiniest ones, accumulate silently and eventually pull us down. Drinking a soda today won't harm you, but drinking one every day for 10 years will affect your health. Skipping one workout won't make a difference, but skipping workouts repeatedly turns into a lack of fitness. On the other hand, saving a little money every month builds financial security, and choosing healthier meals regularly improves your energy and well-being. Every small choice is like a seed planted in the soil of time, and whatever you plant, good or bad, will eventually grow. The difficulty is that in the beginning, results are invisible. This is why so many people give up too early. Imagine someone decides to go to the gym. After a week, they look in the mirror and see no difference. They feel like nothing has changed. The temptation is to quit because the effort doesn't seem to be paying off. But if they keep showing up week after week, month after month, the results will begin to appear. The compound effect works quietly at first, almost invisibly, but over time, it produces visible and lasting transformation. This is why patience and faith in the process are so important. Success is never instant. It is the reward of discipline, of persistence, of trusting that small actions matter, even when we cannot yet see the outcome. The student who studies a little every day is not only preparing for the next test, they are shaping a mind that will excel for years. The person who practices gratitude daily is not just feeling good in the moment, they are building a mindset of resilience and positivity that will serve them throughout life. The compound effect ensures that nothing is wasted, that every little effort is an investment in the future. Another remarkable aspect of the compound effect is that it creates momentum. Once the results begin to appear, motivation grows stronger. When someone who has been exercising for months notices they are stronger, fitter, and healthier, they feel excited to continue. When a person saving money sees their account growing, they become inspired to save even more. This momentum accelerates growth and makes the process even more powerful. The small, consistent efforts that once felt insignificant suddenly become a source of pride and energy. The compound effect also teaches us humility and responsibility. It reminds us that our daily decisions matter far more than dramatic gestures. One big F. Ort cannot replace years of neglect, but one small improvement, practiced faithfully, can undo years of stagnation. Life rewards consistency, not intensity. Just as the farmer cannot harvest a field, discipline is often described as the bridge between goals and accomplishments. It is the ability to do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. Many people believe that discipline comes from willpower alone, but in reality, discipline is built and strengthened through habits. When you repeat small positive actions daily, they begin to shape your behavior, and over time, those habits become the foundation of your discipline. Once discipline is established, it creates momentum, a force that carries you forward, making it easier to achieve more than you ever thought possible. At the start, habits may feel small or even unimportant. Waking up 10 minutes earlier, making your bed, or drinking a glass of water in the morning might not seem like it has much to do with discipline or success. But these small habits are training your mind and body to follow a pattern, to follow through on a commitment. Each time you complete a habit, you are sending yourself a message. I can be trusted to do what I said I would do. That is the essence of discipline, not grand actions, but the ability to consistently follow through on promises to yourself. The beauty of habits is that they reduce the need for constant willpower. Imagine if every day you had to decide whether or not to brush your teeth. It would feel exhausting to keep making that choice. But because brushing your teeth is already a habit, it requires no debate. You just do it automatically. The same principle applies to productive habits like exercising, reading, or working on a project. Once these habits are established, you no longer waste energy deciding whether to do them, you simply do them. That consistency is discipline in action, and discipline is what separates wishful thinking from actual results. Discipline then feeds into momentum. Momentum is the energy that builds when you keep moving forward without stopping. Think of a snowball rolling down a hill. At first, it is small and takes effort to push, but as it rolls, it gathers more snow, gets larger, and moves faster on its own. Habits work in the same way. At first, starting a new routine requires effort. Waking up early or going for a run may feel heavy, like pushing a snowball uphill. But if you stick with it long enough, the habit gains momentum. Suddenly, waking up early feels natural, running feels rewarding, and continuing the habit feels easier than stopping. The effort you once needed is replaced by energy and flow. Momentum also creates confidence. Every time you stick to a habit, you prove to yourself that you are capable of discipline. That confidence fuels your motivation, and your motivation drives you to do even more. For example, someone who starts with the habit of walking daily may soon find themselves running. Then, as their fitness grows, they may sign up for a race. Each step builds on the one before it, and the momentum turns what once felt impossible into reality. Another important truth is that momentum doesn't only move you forward in one area of life, it spills into others. If you develop discipline in your health, you may find it easier to focus on your work. If you build the habit of keeping your space tidy, you may notice improvements in your mental clarity and productivity. Good habits strengthen discipline. Discipline creates momentum, and momentum expands into every corner of your life. Of course, the opposite is also true. Bad habits can create negative momentum. Procrastination, laziness, and neglect can gain their own kind of speed, making it harder to stop. This is why it is so important to consciously choose small, positive habits, because once they gain momentum, they work in your favor instead of against you. In the end, success is not about one-time motivation or bursts of energy. It is about the habits that build discipline day after day. And once discipline is in place, it creates momentum that carries you forward, even on days when motivation fades. The small, Every great achievement in history began as an idea, a vision, or a dream that seemed far too big at the start. Whether it was building a company, writing a book, mastering a skill, or achieving personal transformation, the initial goal often looked overwhelming. This is why so many people give up before they even begin. They see the mountain ahead of them and feel too small to climb it. But the truth is, no great goal is ever achieved in a single leap. The key lies in breaking big goals into small, manageable steps and then committing to those steps one day at a time. Imagine someone who dreams of writing a book. The thought of filling hundreds of pages with words can feel impossible. Where do they even begin? But if that same person tells themselves, "I will write one page every day," suddenly the impossible becomes achievable. One page each day may feel small, but over the course of a year, it becomes 365 pages, more than enough for a complete manuscript. What once felt overwhelming has now been broken down into a simple, consistent habit. This is the power of small steps. Breaking goals into smaller actions does more than make them achievable. It makes them less intimidating. Often, fear and procrastination come from the size of the task in front of us. If you tell yourself, "I need to lose 20 pounds," it feels daunting. But if you instead focus on drinking more water today, eating one healthier meal, or walking for 15 minutes, you shift your focus to something realistic and doable. Day by day, those small choices build into significant results. By focusing on what you can control now, you slowly move closer to your big vision without feeling crushed by its weight. Small steps also build confidence. Every time you complete one step, no matter how small, you feel a sense of accomplishment. That sense of progress fuels your motivation to keep going. Think of climbing a staircase. You don't leap from the bottom to the top in one motion. You take one step, then another, and with each step, you feel yourself getting closer to your destination. The same principle applies to goals in life. Each small win proves to you that you are capable, and that proof builds the momentum you need to keep pushing forward. Another important benefit of breaking big goals into smaller steps is that it creates flexibility. When the path to a goal is broken into smaller pieces, you can adjust more easily if something doesn't go as planned. For instance, if your goal is to save a large amount of money, you don't need to do it all at once. You can start by saving a small amount each week. If you encounter challenges, you can adjust the weekly savings without abandoning the goal entirely. This adaptability keeps you moving forward rather than giving up when difficulties arise. There is also a psychological advantage. Human beings are wired to enjoy progress, even in small doses. Crossing something off a checklist, completing a daily task, or reaching a mini milestone gives the brain a sense of reward. This positive reinforcement keeps us engaged and committed to the journey. Over time, the small daily rewards accumulate, leading to the achievement of the bigger goal that once felt out of reach. History and everyday life are full of examples of this principle. The tallest buildings in the world were not built in a single day. They were constructed brick by brick. Athletes do not prepare for world championships by training once. They train daily, focusing on one workout at a time. Students do not become scholars overnight. They study lesson after lesson, exam after exam, until knowledge grows. The pattern is clear. Extraordinary results come from ordinary actions repeated consistently. So when you face a big goal, remember that you don't need to conquer it all at once. You simply need to break it down into small, actionable steps and focus on the next one in front of you. If you keep taking those small steps with when people think about success, they often imagine dramatic events, sudden breakthroughs, or extraordinary achievements that happen overnight. We hear stories of people becoming wealthy quickly, athletes breaking world records, or entrepreneurs building massive companies, and we assume success must be something rare and spectacular. But the truth is, success is not built on dramatic moments. It is built on ordinary actions repeated consistently. Success hides not in the extraordinary, but in the everyday habits, choices, and behaviors that most people overlook. Consider the person who wakes up early every morning to prepare for their day. To them, it may feel like an ordinary act. There is nothing glamorous about setting an alarm, getting out of bed, or making time to organize their schedule. But over time, that ordinary habit builds punctuality, preparation, and discipline, all qualities that lead to long-term success. On the outside, it may not look remarkable, but it is exactly these quiet, ordinary actions that separate those who succeed from those who do not. Success hides in the ordinary because ordinary actions are sustainable. Anyone can work hard for a single day or push themselves for a short burst of time. But what truly matters is what we can sustain over years. Eating a healthy meal once will not transform your body. Reading one book will not make you an expert. Saving a little money once will not make you financially free. But doing these small, ordinary actions consistently builds a foundation for extraordinary outcomes. Greatness is never the result of a single grand gesture. It is the sum of ordinary choices made every day. Another reason success is hidden in the ordinary is because ordinary moments test our character. It is easy to act motivated when the spotlight is on, when people are watching, or when the goal is exciting. But true discipline is built in the ordinary, unglamorous moments when no one is watching. It is in the choice to study when it feels boring, to practice when no one is clapping, to prepare quietly when the reward feels far away. Those who embrace the ordinary build habits that carry them through the extraordinary challenges of life. Take, for example, athletes at the highest level. When we watch them compete, we see the extraordinary performance. But behind that performance are countless ordinary hours of training, drills, and repetition. The same is true for musicians who perform on stage or writers who publish bestsellers. What we see is the extraordinary result, but what made it possible was years of ordinary practice, often in silence, often without recognition. The ordinary is where the real work happens, and it is in that ordinary work that success quietly takes shape. Many people overlook ordinary habits because they seem too simple. Drinking more water, going for a walk, writing a few lines each day, listening attentively to others. These actions don't appear powerful on their own. But over time, they transform health, relationships, knowledge, and confidence. Ordinary actions compound, and eventually they lead to extraordinary results. What feels small in the moment is actually planting seeds for a bigger harvest in the future. The danger is that people chase the extraordinary while ignoring the ordinary. They look for shortcuts, secret formulas, or dramatic changes, and they become frustrated when results don't come quickly. But the people who achieve lasting success understand that the secret is not in chasing something grand. It is in committing to the small, ordinary things and allowing them to grow over time. So if you want success, look closely at the ordinary parts of your life. How do you start your mornings? How do you use your free time? How do you treat people around you? These ordinary choices, repeated daily, are the bricks that build the structure of your future. The ordinary is not a distraction from success. It is the very place where success is born, in the